Hello everyone, this is Whitney Will from StarHearth Astrology, and I'm here today for your weekly astrology forecast for the week of December 2nd through the 8th. This is a huge week. A ton of stuff happens this week. I feel like we shift into some of the big stories of 2025 in this week. Everything that's happening is happening this week. Here is what I mean. I'm going to break it down for you piece by piece. First off, though, we are coming off of the Sagittarius new moon, which I didn't think too much of. It was at 9 degrees of Sagittarius. It wasn't in a hard aspect to anything that I was super worried about. And yet, I don't know, it felt heavy. So let me know how it felt to you, because I'm not really anticipating how heavy of a new moon it would feel like. I think part of that was that the moon ran right into a square with Saturn right after the new moon. So that was its closest aspect. That square to Saturn was a little bit harsh, was a little bit sad, but I don't know, coming down from a big holiday and just feeling a little bit depleted and overwhelmed with everything to come. That's where I am. But heading into the week, getting back to work, it's feeling pretty good. We start Monday off with a waxing moon in Sagittarius, but by midday the moon has entered Capricorn. Early in the morning, we get a beautiful trine between Venus and Uranus, and I think that gives us this kind of jump into the week with a little bit of electricity from Uranus to get the ball rolling, and Venus in Capricorn wants to work hard and make it all work and find the solutions. Tuesday, mostly we have just the moon moving through Capricorn, coming into a sextile with Saturn. Again, that's helping us pace ourselves. And then Wednesday, a whole bunch of stuff starts happening, and that really lasts through the end of the week. So first we have early in the morning, our second of 3 oppositions between Mercury and Jupiter. So Mercury is retrograde now, opposing Jupiter in Gemini. Again, this is a kind of flood of ideas. This is a lot of information. And while they can help each other out with it, Mercury wants to kind of come to conclusions quickly and synthesize the information, whereas Jupiter is kind of generating so much information in Gemini. It can be a little bit chaotic, hence a little bit of the overwhelm, especially if you are sensitive to one of these planets, either by having excessive mutability in your chart. So we get our second peek of that. Later on in the morning, we have the sun's exact square with Saturn. So we have the sun in Sagittarius squaring Saturn in Pisces. This can kind of put a damper or a sense of self-doubt on our plans. Saturn is kind of toning things down, and the sun is really sinking towards the winter solstice. So it's not a super strong sun right now, but this is a good time to kind of take stock, look back at everything that you did accomplish this year, even if you are feeling like none of it moved very fast. This is a really good time to kind of see how far you have come. And then make a plan for what's reasonable to expect from yourself for the rest of the year. Slow down is the name of this one. After that, we have Venus in Capricorn sextiling Neptune in Pisces. So this is sweet. That should help you with some inspiration, but still kind of under a practical bend with Venus in Capricorn. But she is getting a little bit of the artistic juices flowing in that sweet little sextile with Neptune. By Wednesday evening, we hit the waxing crescent phase of the moon. And so here we're a little bit out of that dark, sleepy dreaminess that we get after a new moon. And we're seeing a little bit more of what the lunar month is going to take shape like, what our energy levels are, all of this Saturn stuff going on right here. I feel like It's asking us to slow down, right? We've got Saturn involved with the moon and also with the sun. And then later that night, the moon switches into Aquarius. Thursday, we spend all day building towards the Kazemi between the sun and Mercury. So this is the midpoint of the Mercury retrograde, where Mercury becomes purified in the heart of the sun and is reborn. It is the clarifying point. If this Mercury retrograde has caused some confusion in some areas of your life and not really knowing how to go through it or how to sort through it, then the Kazemi moment can give us that gem of an insight, like, aha, that final moment. I see the problem. Maybe I still have to fix it, but I looked into the engine and I tried out all of this stuff and I figured out what it is. So we're not out of the woods yet. Mercury's not direct yet, but I have this little gem of that is what that is. So if you have a moment to kind of tune in and be reflective with yourself, especially in the area of life that your Sagittarius house falls into, that can be super, super helpful. You can get a lot of great insights from that. Finally, on Friday, December 6th, we have Mars stationing retrograde at 6 degrees and 10 arc minutes of Leo. Mars has been in the shadow of this retrograde for quite some time now, since the beginning of October. So we've been building up to this slowly. Mars is going to be retrograde for 10 weeks until the 3rd week in February. These time periods are characterized by personal frustration due to the inability to move forward or make progress on things. How we handle this depends so much on how we cope with frustration. Some people are going to blow up. Some people are going to give up. Some people are going to be able to thread the needle and meditate and be slow going. And I think we're going to see larger reactions overall because of Mars's tangle up with Pluto. So Mars will spend the rest of the month approaching an opposition with Pluto, which will complete right around the new year. So it kind of builds in contentiousness and the potential for conflict, especially that week between Christmas and New Year's. But if you look at the chart, you can also see we have Venus right at the end of Capricorn. So she is about to get tangled up in that mix. We're not done with Friday because we also have a square between Mercury and Saturn that completes on Friday. This is again slowing down. Hold your horses. Mercury had that Kazemi with the sun. You might understand what the problem is. You might not have the resources or the capacity right now to really deal with it. That square is asking Mercury to plan carefully. Then late night on Friday, or this will be early on Saturday, depending on your time zone, Venus enters Aquarius. And immediately upon entering Aquarius, on Saturday morning at 6 a.m. Pacific time, she will conjoin Pluto, which happens about once or twice a year. Can be really intense moment for relationships in the sign of Aquarius. This has a lot to do with the need for personal freedom and liberation. But right after she conjoins Pluto, she's working towards that opposition with Mars. So she is not in great shape at this point because she has just tangled with Pluto. Now she's tangling with Mars. She is kind of showing us relationally this opposition and how it can build up. So I think of Pluto a lot as the trigger point. So it's almost like Venus gets relationally triggered. And right from that place of terror, from that place of having kind of tunnel vision like we are when we are triggered or when we are in touch with our attachment wounding, which can definitely be Venus, Pluto, she comes into an opposition with Mars, which kind of builds up on the aggression. And so that can show, we really want to react aggressively, and we might. And that's what that Mars-Pluto opposition most likely portends. And so Venus is kind of showing us a little bit of that. So a little bit of a complicated weekend. Now, at the same time, we have the exact opposition between the Sun and Jupiter. So if we're triggered, and then we've got a Sun-Jupiter aspect, Jupiter makes things bigger. The Sun is our sense of self, right? We might want to make a big show of force. We might want to be kind of like larger than life and bombastic in our reaction to it. So that can maybe lead into some of the problematic things going on here. Remember, Mercury is also still retrograde. So anything that we try to communicate has to be done really carefully and really tactfully, because it is likely that we will have to do it a couple times. And we don't want to say things that people won't be able to forget. In the same moment, we also have Neptune stationing direct. So Neptune stations direct at 27 degrees. This is their second to last station in Pisces. As they will move into Aries next year, they'll be retrograde in Pisces again at this point next year, but we're very close to the end. And so when Neptune stations, Neptune is slowing down and stopping, so we can, especially if we have things at 25 to 29 degrees of the mutable signs, they are in hard aspect to Neptune. We don't have a ton of clarity with this, so it can be a time for confusion at the same moment when we've got Mars gestation, Venus in a pickle, the Sun and Jupiter really inflating our sense of self and our own importance. So that can be a tricky one for sure. We also have the Moon in Pisces, so it can be pretty emotive at this point, right? It's conjoining Saturn, so that can feel really harsh, but then it's going to move towards Neptune, stationing, wanting to kind of escape. And that's what we've got. By Sunday, we enter the first quarter of the lunar month. So next week is where, there's a lot of activity, there's a lot of busyness. And I imagine that we will be integrating a lot of the storylines that happen in this week. I think that kind of no matter who you are, maybe not the cardinal signs as much, but the mutable signs for sure, and the fixed signs as well. There's quite a lot going on. So I think that's going to be true for pretty much everyone. So hold on to your horses. Try to plan carefully. Understand that things take time. Reflect on Thursday during the Mercury-Sun. And kind of watch your mouth and watch your actions this weekend, because you don't have all the information. And even if you do, it is well worth taking a few days to think about and clarify your message before you express it. Okay, that is what I have for you this week. So I hope that is helpful. I hope you, I am starting to release my year ahead forecasts for my paid subscribers on my Substack, which I will link in the notes for this video. If you would like to become a paid subscriber and get your hands on those, I will release them all at New Year's. But if you want them early, I will be uploading them throughout the month of December for my paid Substack subscribers. I would love your support. It makes such a huge difference in the work that I do here. Thanks for being here, and I will see you next week.